Welcome to Feelings Matter, brought to you by Feelalytics. I'm Michelle Stinson Ross.
And I'm Tina Schweiger.
And we are continuing our discussion on emotions and decision making. We talked previous episode about the neuroscience behind how emotions play a role in our decision making. And today I wanted to keep the conversation a little more casual and talk through what does the use of our emotions to make decisions actually look like? When do we do it well? Do we not do it so well? What are some things that we can do to get better at using our emotions in an active and positive way, if that makes any sense at all? Tina, am I on the right track with this one, or am I like
You're on the right track? Yes. We're animals, right? We are humans, but we are animals, and we have evolved over the thousands and millions of years that our species has been evolving. There's a whole area of study called evolutionary psychology, and it studies like how we, as an evolving species, like basically figured out how to survive. And we probably have touched on this topic before, but what it means is that our emotions are almost there to, the strong ones are there to keep us alive. And to the things that we need in order to keep us alive, like not getting chased down by a tiger and eaten, or like not stepping on a snake and getting bit, or falling off a cliff, are very intense emotions that can come up in more benign situations in our daily life where we're not really faced with those things. And a lot of people, maybe yourself included, or maybe you know someone like this, you have a really strong emotion, you're in the moment, maybe you're in an argument, you get angry or you get triggered, and you have to make a decision, you have to push through. It's this urge to solve and to resolve. And unfortunately, sometimes that can cause us to make missteps. Michelle, can you think of like an example of, if you're really emotionally charged and you make a decision in that moment, what might happen?
Well, I guess I could be really honest and talk about like um, emotionally driven eating habits. I mean, these are like small decisions, but still, I'm in my late 40s, and those small decisions have compound results, especially at my age. And I notice that anytime I am in a stressful situation or a depressive situation, anytime that the emotions are running a bit high on the negative side, that I will tend to not make good choices about what to eat, when to eat. I might go all day long and not eat, and then decide at the end of the day I want a freaking pizza. Not good decisions.
And thus an emotional decision.
It's totally an emotional decision, because
Yeah.
I was also thinking, as you were describing that part of our biochemistry also is geared toward getting us to do the same things over and over and over because they feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that like interplay between, I feel bad, I want to do something that makes me feel good, so I'm going to, eat some comfort food. While that makes me feel good in the moment, over the long run, this is not feeling good. I'm now on like high blood pressure medication or whatever the case may be. It's driving my diabetes. Hello, this is not a good long-term strategy. Makes me feel good in the short run, but not so great in the long run.
I think, and we're not sponsored by Noom, but there's an entire weight loss platform that works on helping you deal with the emotions surrounding eating and the choices that you make with eating. And that's an excellent example, and it applies to so many different choices and micro decisions that we have. The best way to make decisions is by allowing yourself to process those emotions and use them as a data point. So you may have heard in the past, like, oh, you have to make rational, logical decisions without your emotions. And the recent Barbie movie, if you've seen it yet, there's this one scene in the Barbie movie where one of the Barbies is driving a car, and she's like, yes, I'm a woman and I have big emotions and I use them and they actually help me make my decisions better. And they're actually on the right track with that. It isn't really like having your emotions unconsciously drive your decisions. And it's not really the flip side, which is pushing your emotions away and disregarding them when it comes to making decisions. We have to fit this happy medium, which is, okay, I have this emotion. Now let me process it so that I'm no longer in a heightened fight or flight state.
Speaking of fight or flight, the cat just decided she did not like me chasing her off my lap.
Oh no! Did she claw you?
She gave me a little nip.
Ooh, ow. Oh, that gave me a little fear. So how do you actually do that? How does that work? I've had this question, and it's a question that I've asked for, I don't know, 20 or 30 years of my life. And it's something that I've been going through mountains of self-help books to try to understand. And if you've done the same, you've probably encountered a lot of great books. Like I love Eckhart Tolle, like The Power of Now, learning how to be in the moment. Oh, one of my favorites is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I believe. And those just two examples of incredibly powerful books that can give you skills and tools to help you with how to make decisions in the moment and how to make decisions with your emotions and regarding them without, and the books aren't really about that, but there isn't really a book about that exactly. I don't think. It's just almost like all of these little bits and pieces, like, do some meditation, don't take it personally, be in the moment and like realize that the past is in the past and the future is in the future and you really only live right now. Like some of those get even a little esoteric and hard to understand and hard to navigate. And if you dive into this world of self-help books like I have in my late 20s, I think I went through them for a good 10 or 20 years, just devouring them until I finally got to the point where, like, gosh, how do you even navigate this? And where do we want to get to? So we want to get to a place where we are resilient against our negative emotions. So let's say you haven't eaten all day and you have gotten a little frustrated by that. And you're like, oh God, I really need that pizza, because now all of a sudden you're angry or hangry because you haven't eaten all day. I totally had a mental blank right there. Shoot, my mind just emptied. Okay, so oh yeah, resilience. That's where I was going. So we'll edit that out in the final piece. But so resilience to those negative emotions, to where you can create a little space between that feeling and the action that you take, the decision that you make, and what you decide to do. And then the other thing we want to do once we learn how to be resilient against those negative emotions is learn how to thrive. So this is an area that's very, very new in psychology. We've talked about this on a couple of other episodes, but positive psychology. So concepts like broadening and building by Barbara Fredrickson, where you have a positive feeling or a positive emotion. Like, I kind of feel happy right now. I feel good today. It's crazy. I feel good today. I'm gonna actually breathe into that feeling, see where it feels in my body. I feel it kind of in my lungs because I'm able to breathe more freely. My chest is a little stronger. I feel like I'm thriving today. So my goal is to help Michelle thrive now too.
Yeah, right. Well, it's interesting that you brought up the body thing again, because when we first got on camera, I said, look, my face works. So one of the things that I experience when I experience some depression or a downswing in mood is that my facial muscles just like, my face just goes blank. My face is no longer as expressive as it normally is. I just kind of like go numb in some ways. And I can tell when that whatever biochemistry is going on, when that starts to lift, my face starts to come back to life. It is a definite physical, like my face when I'm not doing well, literally feels heavy. Like my facial muscles are made out of lead. And that is one of those things that I've paid attention to it enough over the years that as soon as my face starts to feel heavy, I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, what I'm, I need to just pause and pay attention. And again, engage in a little bit of that mindfulness. What's going on right now? Why is it I'm noticing this feeling of leaden face? And what do I need to do? What's going on? What might be triggering it? I part of me, I need to understand what's going on and what might be driving it, so that I can take action to counterbalance it. And all of that it's a skill. It's something that you learn to do. You learn to pay attention. You learn to ask yourselves the question, get curious, and then try and strategize your way back out of it without the depression or the anxiety or whatever driving you in and of itself. It's like, okay, right now, this depression or anxiety or whatever is a signal, not a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to pay attention to what might have been causing that signal to flash and see if I can't course correct.
Oh man, that's the perfect setup, Michelle, because it's time for us to announce the tool.
Oh, yes. So obviously, if you want to use your emotions in a way that help you to drive good decisions, good lifestyle choices, whatever the case may be, yes, it takes skills, it takes tools. And something that Tina came out of her Harvard studies wanting to do was to empower people with a tool set that brings in a lot of things that she's been studying, reading, engaging with over the course of her life. And Tina, I will let you introduce the name and what it is that we're talking about and all the good things.
I am so excited to announce this, and I hope we have some viewers today. If you're there, please say hi. We just, we don't never know if we're making an impact on anything, so just pipe up, say hi, join us.
And guess what? If you're watching it on the recording, you can still leave us a comment. Please
leave us a comment. Yes, hit a like, subscribe. I'll do the
right
the YouTuber thing. Oh my gosh! So my path is an interesting path. I've gone from artist and designer, like my undergraduate degree is in fine arts. I'm a painter. I painted this piece behind me. I spent many years as a graphic designer, user interface designer, user experience designer, and then I became a scientist. And so it's been an interesting path. But what that path has allowed me to do is take the design skills that I have and look at them through the lens of science. And it's something that I'm so excited to bring to you. It's a tool called FeelWise. And what this is a tool to help you identify exactly what you're feeling. As a designer and an artist, part of my training in school, and if you've had any fine arts training in visual arts, you've learned about, and probably in elementary school, you learned about the color wheel. You have primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. You have secondary colors, green, purple, and orange. They make complementary palettes. You make analogous palettes. You blend them together. They mix and make different things. But there's a agreed upon universal structure for how colors interact with one another. What I was surprised to find is there isn't a universal agreed upon structure for emotions. We went through this kind of at the beginning of a few weeks ago and what they were. And we kind of landed on, as a reminder, mad, glad, and sad. Or was it mad? Yeah, mad, glad, and sad. Those are basically the primary colors of emotions. Brene Brown's research pretty much fundamentally showed that most people's primary colors of emotion, if you call it, are mad, glad, and sad. So not to, in an effort to try to bring a universal structure, I took about 144, 150 emotions and organized them. And I'm going to show that to you right now. And then I'm going to show you how you can use it. And that this tool will be available for pre-order fairly soon, I'd say by September 1st. And then the delivery of the final should be within the next 2 to 6 weeks after that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me share my screen here, and entire screen. I'm just going to show my entire screen, so don't judge me for all my tabs open. Don't judge me. I have so many tabs. Okay, so let me find my Adobe Illustrator. Okay, here we are. Can you see my screen, Michelle?
Yes, we're on.
Right. So here is what I call this structure, and it combines emotions, attitudes, and mindfulness techniques. So this is really the master key or the master structure. And if I go over to this first column, it will be attitudes and emotions, negative to positive. So this column is negative attitudes. Negative, and an attitude I say is a mindset. An emotion is like a reaction, something you feel. I have resilience attitudes, positive emotions and positive attitudes. In a general structure, we have apathy and interest kind of holding court as like complementary colors. They're like complementary emotions. Apathy, you don't care about anything. Interest, you're interested in things. Mm-hmm. On the either end of that, there's a variety of different attitudes that could give you a signal or a clue that you're feeling apathetic. You might just be reluctant or bored or don't care. You might feel apathetic. On the flip side, if you're interested in stuff, to know that you even could take that further and into the realm of others, it could look like empathy. In between apathy and interest, in what I'm calling a resilience attitude, is if you're feeling apathetic, cultivating an attitude of hope can help then flip you into the opposite, which is interest. Done that for sad and humor with self-compassion in the middle, fear and joy with optimism in the middle, disgust and love with curiosity in the middle, anger and positive energy, because anger is super negative energy, with gratitude in the middle, and contempt and pride. They're all about judging and acceptance in the middle. So this is really a framework that I've been working on for many years, and it gets tweaked here and there, but it also moves into how do you get there? If you are feeling apathetic, how do you get to hope? If you feel positive interest, how do you get to empathy? So I have a little progressive chart that takes you through, and I use 4 mindfulness techniques between the emotion and the attitude, because one might not work for everyone, but covering all 4, if you do all 4, it's even better. But if you just pick one, that's actually great too. So this is the basis for the tool. And how you're going to use it instead is to look at, let me go to my other software here, different emotions. So I mentioned that we have 144, and they're in each one of those, like disgust, angry, happy, sad. They all have about 12 related emotions. As a designer, what I did is affinity clustering. It's a design thinking method where you can take a whole bunch of data and you can create a system out of that data by collecting like things into different affinity clusters. And I affinity clustered all of the emotions. So once I did that, I generated all of these really great images to really express these 144 emotions. And they're also paired with a few questions, a definition. If you feel mortified, there's a few questions. Do you find yourself replaying past embarrassing moments in your mind, even if they're long occurred? Are you mortified? So these really can help you understand how it is you're feeling, and you'll be able to pick these up, flip them over, read through them, and just in general, honestly enjoy. What I've enjoyed is creating these on Midjourney Bot. It's just been so much fun. But look at our grumpy. How do you feel today, Michelle? How do you think you might feel?
I think today I'm still feeling maybe a little tired, a little drained. After having gone through some illness as well as a little bit of depression, I'm depleted for sure.
I am not sure if I have that one, but I will look really quickly.
Well, tired or drained or anything like that also covers.
Yeah, disgust and anguish, grief, hurt. These are our sads and mads. Lonely, unhappy. Well, I don't know that I have that one ready, but the idea then is when you figure out what it is, it'll tell you which mindfulness card to go to. They do line up with the chart,
Mhm.
and it'll give you what to do. So, for example, if it tells you to go to resilience because you're working towards resilience, you'll want to do an exercise to calm down. Right here, there's 3 simple calming exercises that you can do in like 5 minutes to help calm yourself down in the moment.
Mhm.
We'll also have a link to a video demonstration. Those will take a little bit longer to be finished, but they'll be done. And then we also have all of those self-help books I was talking about that I spent about 20 years going through. I've organized them for you so you don't have to spend 20 years going through them yourself. You can go through them as you need it. So, for example, let's say you're angry. The first thing under angry is distance. So, if you are feeling your heartbeat fast, if you're feeling like you're shaking, maybe you're sweating, you're angry, you're maybe in an argument, then the idea is to notice what you're feeling inside in your body, to visualize like a stop sign or some similar symbol, and then just simply relocate yourself to a different place.
Mhm.
And that would be to create distance between you and what's making you angry or who is making you angry. And the reference book here is a book called Rage, a step by step guide to overcoming explosive anger. So, if you really want to dive into what that means exactly and learn more, there's references on how to do each one a little bit deeper. Some of these are like soothing yourself. This is a nice one. The idea of self compassion. If you're feeling hurt and you're feeling sad, then the idea is step one, nurture yourself as if you were nurturing a small child. And that means what is it that makes you feel cared for?
Mhm.
Come up with a few ideas and try them out. Here's a few suggestions. Maybe take a warm bath, listen to music, just do something to help soothe yourself. And then you can go to imagine.
This is exactly why I love my weighted blanket when it comes to
Yes.
because if you think about the way we soothe our children, we pick them up, we hold them.
Yes.
There's that sense of touch that I'm being snuggled for a moment.
Yes.
I get a little bit of that from my weighted blanket too.
And looks like a weighted blanket in my lovely visual that I prompted Midjourney Bot to create. But that was kind of like inspired by the Madonna and Child. So I'm really filling my creative void here by putting all this together too. But the book behind soothing yourself is called Self Compassion: The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself. And I talked through the author and just a quick little sentence or two about what does this mean? It's concept of self-parenting, and soothing. So just taking these little bitty concepts and lining them up and then putting them with the emotions that they go with so that you can work towards these different attitudes. Um, so many things. This one is great. Some of them are very, very simple, like the soothing one is very simple. Some of them could take quite a long time to master, like this one called Listen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you're in the moment where you're feeling a certain way and then this card prompts you to listen, the idea is to give your full attention to the person speaking and push aside distractions or the urge to plan a reply. Okay, that first step alone could take years of
Yep.
practice. But in to continue like just thinking through that and assuming that we could get there with enough practice, let the other person finish their thoughts without interrupting, occasionally paraphrase what they've said, ensuring you've grasped their message. And then rather than jumping to a solution or advice, first ask if they're seeking feedback or just need to be heard. So that's especially helpful if somebody is in an emotional state and you're there with them. By simply following these actions and practicing them, you will develop a higher level of emotional intelligence and people will like you more.
This is true. It's true. Well, and you get the benefit of like getting out of your own head. Heather and I were talking about it. She asked me as I was like struggling this week. She said, "What would you find helpful? She was very mindful in the way she even asked the question. And I said that at this point, being the extrovert that I am, that I actually need to receive some energy from being around other people in person. I spend a lot of time on cameras looking at people through a screen, and it just doesn't satisfy me the same way as being in a room with people does. And as we were talking, she said, I'm kind of like that, but I don't necessarily need to see someone or be in I just need to talk to someone else. And what she said specifically that really got my attention in all of this is I need the opportunity to get out of my own head. And the listening skill that you're describing is definitely one of those skills that you can use to get out of your own head.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because we tend to, if you're in a conversation, you're just maybe I've practiced this active listening for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, right? So it's more natural for me to do this. But at the beginning, when I first started doing it, oh, it was hard. I'd have to I had a notebook next to me. So one of the ways that I trained myself is I'd be in a business meeting and I would just listen. And instead of trying to think about my answer, I would just write down what they said.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never look at those notes again, but I have volumes of journals where I'm just writing down what people say so that it just gets me out of my own head and gets me into the habit of actively listening.
So as we start to wrap up,
Yeah.
and we think about the impact that, especially that runaway emotional state where we're just kind of behaving in the moment, driven by that, and not really engaging any of the thinking brain. Um, what would you say is like the best first step people can use to disrupt that immediate reaction and pause long enough to actually make a good decision rather than just let that runaway emotion take charge?
Well, one of our favorite organizations is 6 Seconds.
Mm-hmm.
They're an emotional intelligence organization. Shout out to them. Go check out their website.
It's
Consume everything we're doing.
Matter of fact, I will grab the link for that one.
Yes, drop that in. 6 seconds is the name of that, is the amount of time, I believe, that is been shown. If you can pause for 6 seconds, then you're going to have a better shot at not letting your emotions run roughshod over everything. And so that's the very first step. And we always bring this up in every talk, is neurodivergence. So I want to just be mindful of the difference between mood disorders and making decisions based on emotions.
Mm-hmm.
They're very different and also related. I myself suffer from mood disorders from time to time. Michelle does too. We are part of that community. We understand it intimately. And like Michelle was saying earlier, that her cue is for her that her face loses expression, which I think is a fantastic level of self-awareness, by the way, that you have really pinned it down to something that you actually can't see yourself unless you're looking in the mirror. Mm-hmm. That your expressions are sort of falling and your facial muscles are falling, and that's your sense to know that you need more therapeutic support, more medical attention or support. If you can identify those kinds of things within yourself, for myself, what I've noticed is that if I have an anxious or irritable mood, and it's doesn't matter what the context is, I still feel angry, sad, or irritable or anxious, or my stomach is fluttering a lot, that is a indication that it's more than just my emotions trying to run the show. It's actually some chemical imbalances that I need to maybe set aside time with my therapist or my doctor and just revisit that from a healthcare perspective. Mm-hmm. So I just because we're always mindful of that and bringing it back to that, I wanted to make sure we covered that off before signing off.
Fantastic. Tina, thank you so much for another really helpful and valuable conversation. This was exactly the type of conversation I need after the week I've had.
Good.
So I appreciate it on a one-on-one personal level, but I hope to goodness that everybody in the audience also takes something valuable away from this. And like Tina said, we will keep you posted on when the Feel Wise deck of cards is available. And we appreciate everyone's attention and support.
Thank you so much.